Hello, I am going to read something to you, something that I have written this morning, and I'll do that while I am walking along the path here with my bicycle in my hand and enjoying the sunrise here. This is on the outskirts of Chico, where I like to ride my bicycle every morning. And in this beautiful scenery, I like to say something pretty confrontational. Actually, I've written it, so it was actually meant to be read. But since you will probably never read it, I'm going to read it to you. And you will hear me say it as if you are reading it. Okay, this is how it starts. You're cutting me off because you engage in disembodied language and you want to dominate me or others who don't agree with you and who would actually show that what you're saying is not true. Yeah. Because that is ultimately why people disagree with each other. They want to be true, they want to be right, they want to be in charge. And it's understandable that we want to be in charge, because that is what language is all about. But in disembodied language, you are not in charge. In disembodied language, you are not listening to yourself. You want other people to listen, and you're listening to others, but you're not listening to yourself. So you're not in charge of your language when you have disembodied language. And that's why you're cutting me or other people off. That's what everybody does. They are cutting each other off. We never really let our language as we know it be fully we never let it be fully expressed as it could be if we would allow ourselves and each other to sort of just say what we want to say. But we don't do that. So, once again, you're cutting me off because you have disembodied language in which you don't listen to yourself while you speak. But if you would listen to yourself while you speak, like I do, we're not cutting each other off. And this is peculiar. We're not cutting each other off because we're not cutting ourselves off. Because when we are cutting each other off, we are cutting ourselves off. And so we're all trapped in disembodied language in which we're cutting each other off, or in which we are being cut off. Most of us are being cut off, of course. And those who win the battle for the attention, they are cutting each other off. Yeah, the people who do all the talking, the authorities, the people who are presumably more important than others and who reduce the rest of the audience, the rest of the people to being an audience. And so most of us, unfortunately, are reduced to being listeners or readers, and we're not really doing our talking. And certainly, even if we do our talking, even if we do our expression of our verbal behavior, we don't nearly express what we are able to express. Oh no. We are limiting ourselves only to whatever we need to do to get the attention from some audience. And so if you can just look at me and look at this beautiful sunrise here, and this wonderful landscape with the open sky. Look how nice. Yeah. I'm just walking here by myself, and I've only read one sentence of my writing, and then I started talking. Yeah, I'm listening to myself. I'm having embodied language, and so let me just start reading again what I was letting you know about. You're cutting me off because you engage in disembodied language. And of course, when I say you, I'm talking about everyone. You're engaging in disembodied language and you want to dominate me or others who don't agree with you. Yeah. Everybody wants to cut off those people that don't agree with them. And then supposedly they are having a conversation only with those who agree with them. Yeah, who have the same belief, the same habits, the same values. Yeah. No, they're still all engaging in disembodied language, and they all still engage in this hierarchy which is created by disembodied language, where certain speakers are more important than others, and therefore they get to talk, and the rest is just reduced to being a listener, a spectator. Yeah. Are you amused? Are you interested? Are you enjoying this as an audience? Or do you feel a sense of discomfort about your inability to actually to fully participate in your language, because that is what you ought to feel as a result of what I'm saying? Because how can you not feel uncomfortable about the fact that you're being cut off all the time? That you're being silenced, that you're being ignored, disrespected, that you're being ridiculed, that you're being demonized. Oh. And how can you not feel unhappy about that, dissatisfied and infuriated and also confused and troubled? How can you not feel all these things? Of course you feel that way. Of course you feel discriminated. When we do not have embodied language, as long as we don't have the way of talking in which we all listen to ourselves while we speak, as long as that continues, we use our language incorrectly. And there's going to be all these negative experiences that I was just mentioning. Stress and frustration and anxiety and fear, anger, violence. So I don't have any confrontation with anyone anymore in which I make them listen to me. You see, I know what disembodied language is. I'm not interested in disembodied language. I know what it is. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't like it. I don't want it. I'm not part of it. I'm part of this, what I'm telling you on this video. And yeah, this is something totally different. And you cannot cut me off. Unless you just turn it off. Okay, that's your decision. But I'm just here. Good morning. Hello. I'm just here walking by myself, talking with myself. And yeah, nothing can stop me, because I have decided that this, what I'm doing here, embodied language, that is what I am all about. And your disembodied language, it just doesn't interest me. So I'm not going to get in some confrontation with you to stop you or to counteract you or to argue with you. I've done that in the past, but I'm not doing that anymore. Yes, I'm not going to make you listen to me because I have embodied language in which I continue by myself, by talking like this with myself, by listening to myself, whenever others prevent me from talking. Yeah. And I know the world is full of disembodied language. The world is full of people who prevent me from talking. Yeah. No trespassing. And so this is what I do. You can't admit that it is true about what I say to you, about what you do. Because if you did actually admit that what I say is true, that you engage in disembodied language, if you admitted that, not to yourself, yeah, not to please me, to make it seem as if you are open to me, no, that has nothing to do with it. If you would admit it, you would stop your disembodied language and you would have embodied language. And then, of course, also have embodied language with me. I say what I say regardless of whether you or others want to hear it, because I want to hear it. Yeah. That is quite a difference. I want to hear what I say to myself. And if you would have embodied language, you would want to do that too. Actually, I have said already so often what I had wanted to hear and what I like to hear and what is only meant for my ears, not for your ears, because you need to say to yourself what you want to hear. Yeah. I've already said it so often, I've already heard it so often, I've already enjoyed it so often, that I'm perfectly fine not saying it to myself anymore. Yeah. I don't need to say this to make this video to know this, because I already know it. Since I already know what my embodied language is like, I can be without language and be very happy. Yeah. When I stop talking, I am without language. But you, when you stop talking and you are thinking, yeah, you believe that you have inner language, you are overwhelmed by the illusion of inner language, your chattering mind, your mind which never stops, which keeps bothering you. But it is all an illusion created by the way in which you talk, disembodied language in which you do not listen to yourself, in which you never fully express what you're able to express. And so this illusion is inevitably going to happen to you, but not to me. Because look, if I stop talking, I'm as free as the open sky. Yeah. So I'm looking at my paper just to continue my reading, not because I lost my train of thought, okay? Because I don't have a train of thought. Yeah, that's a weird metaphor that we have which refers to our inner language. And I ask you what you think, you just simply say something, and what you supposedly think is actually what you say and what somebody else is hearing, and what you perhaps also write and what someone else is reading. So this writing that I'm reading to you was supposed to be read by you, but since you don't read it anyway, I'm reading it to you. And you hear me say it. I know already what my embodied language is like, but you don't. And this is why I can write like this and tell in this written language, which you with your disembodied language prefer over spoken language, because you want to have written language, right? Written language supposedly is more important because it's published, yeah. And you want scripted language, you want predetermined language, you want, language that is really nailing it. No, you want language from an authority, that's what you want. Yeah, because written language represents authority. Yeah, it's more important than spoken language. That's why we only accept written scientific language. We don't have anybody being concerned about spoken scientific language. Nobody cares about that. I do. Embodied language is spoken scientific language because the speaker is the listener. There's no separation between the speaker and the listener. And yeah, since I'm one with what I say, I express my experience correctly. But if the speaker is not one with the listener, the listener who is the speaker, then a separation occurs, dualism occurs, and then there is a separation between the observer and the observed. Yeah, between the speaker and the listener. Which is just another way. Yeah, and then we're stuck between cause and effect. We're between a rock and a hard place. I'm just making this up. And so, let's continue what I was reading here, because it still goes on for a little while longer. I already know what embodied language is, yeah? And so this is why I can write like this and tell you in written language, because I'm reading to you here what I've written. I bring it to you in the language that you prefer, written language, yeah, because you don't care about somebody saying something. This guy's just saying something, right? No, I've written it. It's in writing. It's black on white. It's black on white that all language is overt and that there is no such thing as your mind. It just doesn't exist. So yeah, I'm writing this to you. I'm reading this to you, so that you can't cut me off. And perhaps these words, they will make you realize what I write, makes you realize what I write is true. Because you keep cutting me off when I say what I've written. I was already anticipating that I was going to say it, of course. The famous saying is, hey, speaker, it's not what you say, but how you say it. But when did that ever happen? That such a speaker began to listen to himself or herself? No. It never happened. We have nonsensical, meaningless sayings like this because we have never acknowledged the difference between our disembodied language and our embodied language. And therefore, we keep endlessly beating around the bush with our verbal acrobatics. Yeah. Nobody can stop the disembodied language of somebody else. We all pretend as we can, but we haven't and we can't. Nobody can stop the disembodied language of others, since we can only stop our own disembodied language. And that is, of course, requiring you to be your own speaker and your own listener. So perhaps while you're reading this, perhaps while you're listening to this, and while you're looking at this, perhaps you're going to do it. This is the path. This is the path I'm on.